Since 1994, nearly $58 million of state and federal money has been poured into Maryland's polluted Chesapeake Bay to try and save its oyster population. However, state officials admit oyster recovery was unsuccessful. The oysters are mostly gone, and now many local fishermen have either lost their jobs or have had to turn to other catch like crabs that are also in decline.
It's been mismanaged by the Department of Natural Resources and by these scientists. We were making a good living at it until they changed everything, until they decided to go in totally different directions.
They've just changed their way of things were always done. They used to move seed up here from other rivers, put it on our oyster bottoms, kept everybody working. Even in rivers where disease had taken away oysters, this river had primarily done pretty good.
Government agencies and biologists working on the project as part of the Oyster Recovery Partnership have been trying to combat diseases like MSX and DERM, which have been wiping out enormous populations of oysters for decades. But some local watermen whose families have been fishing these waters for generations feel that the money that's been spent on this project has been a complete waste.
If they would have been putting them on these oyster bars that we've worked over the years, would have kept the oyster industry moving, but instead of that, they're all sitting there silting over. But what they're doing with them, 90% of them, is putting them on sanctuaries. Instead of putting them out there where we can work, they're putting them on sanctuaries, and all they're doing on the sanctuaries is laying there and dying.
They're not doing anything with the oyster bars we already have. That's what we need to work on. I mean, we need to take care of what we already have. Why build new oyster bars and reserves when we don't take care of what we have that was naturally put here by God?
The Chesapeake Bay watershed touches 6 eastern states and has been ranked as the second most polluted river in Maryland. And while researchers are stacking oyster shells on top of one another to keep the oysters away from disease, silt, and development runoff on the bottom of the bay, watermen feel that their opinions on what should be done with the oyster seed and shells are going unheard.
We'll go to meetings, they'll ask our perspective, and they would just completely blow us off like, we don't exist.
When that oyster recovery program was first developed, they put me on the committee. Quote, token waterman is what it apparently ended up to be. And I sat down with these fellows, and I found out shortly they were more after the grant money than worrying about the oysters.
However, there are some watermen who feel differently about the partnership's work in the bay.
It's like any other thing, whether you study grasses, bay grasses, when you study, it costs money to study how to do things right. And I guess that's what a lot of people don't understand. And I guess that's the reason why a lot of people are upset over the money that's being spent. I really believe in my heart they see the other side of it.
Today, there are only around 500 oyster fishermen in the Chesapeake Bay, compared to the 1980s when over 2,000 existed. Right or wrong, for or against, one thing is clear. The oyster population of the Chesapeake Bay has significantly diminished and has taken with it a centuries-old culture.
The watermen's I think we're a dying breed, but they just don't want to give up. They just don't. They like what they're doing. It's a little bit about being independent, and it's not a lifestyle where you've got all the money in the world. But if you're a waterman, you like doing you like doing what you're doing.
For Discovery News, this is Matt Danzico.